Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so today we're trying out a thought experiment that is just absolutely wild. We're going to literally drop you straight into the timeline of one of the most catastrophic events in human history, the fall of Rome. But here's the catch. We're not doing some grand, decades-long historical deep dive. No, you get a strict 24-hour window to navigate a burning city. So the ultimate question here is, could you make it out alive? It's really easy to sit back in our comfortable chairs and think, oh yeah, I'd totally make all the right choices. But when barbarian invaders are literally at the gates and sheer, unfiltered panic starts infecting the largest metropolis of the ancient world, well, survival is far from guaranteed.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the final 24 hours, a countdown to collapse.
To really grasp what you're up against, we have to map out the sheer speed at which a seemingly invincible empire just unravels. Over this 24-hour survival window, we're going to move from the deceptively normal sunrise into the escalating threat of midday, right into a massive afternoon attack. Then, nightfall hits and chaos takes over until we finally reach the aftermath at dawn. Literally every single second is going to count here. So let's start the clock with section 2, morning, a false calm or the calm before the storm. Picture this. You arrive at sunrise, and at first glance, everything looks perfectly normal. You've got merchants aggressively hawking their goods in busy markets, citizens are crowding the noisy streets just going about their day, totally, completely unaware that this is their very last normal morning. But if you pay attention, beneath that hum of daily life is this creeping dread. There are rumors of an approaching enemy whispering through the market stalls. It's a textbook case of normalcy bias. People just desperately clinging to their daily routine even as total disaster is right on their doorstep. As the hours tick toward midday, that invisible tension gets incredibly palpable, and we start seeing this fascinating split in how people react. On one hand, you have the military response kicking into high gear, with soldiers rushing around to prepare the city's defenses. But on the flip side, the wealthy civilian elite aren't organizing some orderly evacuation. Instead, wealthy families are frantically hoarding and hiding their treasures, burying coins and jewels to preserve their status. Everyone is basically preparing to hunker down instead of fleeing. And spoiler alert, that choice is going to cost a lot of people dearly. Which brings us to section 3. The attack begins and the walls are breached. It's afternoon, and suddenly, the waiting is over. War horns echo across the city. The attack has officially begun. Just imagine the visceral terror of that exact moment. You're standing in the street, totally paralyzed by indecision, as those deep horns echo off the marble buildings and arrows literally start raining down from the sky. In an absolute instant, thousands of citizens pivot from anxious waiting to sheer, unadulterated panic. But here's a really critical truth you need to understand about surviving the fall of a civilization. The biggest danger isn't the invaders. It's the chaos. When we picture a fallen city, our minds usually go straight to epic sword fights at the city gates. But the actual true killer, it's the rapid collapse of social order right next to you, when a terrifying volume of human beings start acting entirely on raw, primal survival instinct. So when you're weighing your survival odds, you've got to look way beyond the obvious external threats, the invading warriors and the flying arrows. Because the internal threats, those are actually far more lethal. Rome was this densely populated labyrinth of notoriously narrow, tight roads. While you're busy dodging weapons, you are equally at risk of getting crushed by a stampeding mob, or getting completely trapped in a dead-end alleyway by uncontrollably spreading fires. The environment itself turns into a weapon against you. Moving into our next phase, we reach section 4, nightfall, surviving the chaos in the darkest hours. Once the sun finally goes down, your visibility drops to near zero, and the danger just multiplies exponentially. The city is plunged into darkness, lit only by the shifting flames of the spreading fires. Thick smoke starts filling the air, burning your lungs and making navigation pretty much impossible. Food becomes instantly scarce, and desperate people begin roaming the streets looking for anything they can find. In this suffocating, terrifying environment, your absolute best chance of making it to the next hour isn't fighting, and it definitely isn't running blindly. It's staying hidden. Right now, silence and shadows are your only friends. Then, late at night, a really dangerous dilemma pops up. Part of the city's defenses completely collapse, and an escape route actually opens up. News of this broken gate spreads through the dark like wildfire. It feels like a glimmer of hope, right? Well, remember those internal threats we talked about? Thousands of absolutely terrified citizens are trying to flee through that exact same bottleneck. Rushing toward that broken gate means plunging yourself right back into the most dangerous element of this entire scenario, the panicked mob. You have to weigh the risk of staying hidden in a burning city against the sheer physical danger of a crumbling, highly congested exit. And finally, the clock runs out. We arrive at Section 5, Dawn, a fallen empire in the aftermath. The 24 hours are up, the sun rises, and we have to step out and assess the permanent damage. Smoke just hangs heavy over the city, buildings lie in absolute ruins, and the once great capital has fallen. It is a stark, incredibly somber reality. The magnificent temples and bustling markets from just yesterday morning, they are completely unrecognizable. The very epicenter of civilization has been changed forever. Honestly, it's a haunting reminder of exactly how quickly seemingly permanent institutions can just vanish. All right, so how did you fare against our survival checklist? 1. Stay calm. 2. Avoid crowds. 3. Find shelter. Sounds incredibly simple in theory, doesn't it? But actually executing this when war horns are blaring and the city is literally on fire around you, that's another story entirely. But if you managed to resist the urge to panic with the masses, stayed far away from those deadly bottlenecks, and just stayed hidden until the initial wave passed, you likely successfully navigated the collapse. So, reviewing everything we've just unpacked in this explainer, I've got to ask you directly. Would you have made the right choices in real life? It's super fascinating to study history from a safe distance, but reality is completely unforgiving. Would your modern instincts have actually saved you, or would you have joined that panicked mob at the gate? Just think about how quickly the veneer of our own civilization might fade if the clock started ticking today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.